Thunderous applause today for Andrew Scheer after his razor-thin victory at the Conservative Leadership Convention. He rises to the party's top job after serving as the youngest ever Speaker of the House. In Ottawa, Cormac Mac Sweeney spoke with Macleans Bureau Chief John Geddes on why the Tories are taking a chance on Scheer and what he brings to the table.
What do you think of Scheer's message to his team today, and how do you think he's going to perform as the new leader of the Conservatives?
You know, it's obviously a pretty easy task, frankly, for a new leader to call for unity. Everyone in the party knows they have to be unified or they're going to eat themselves alive. They need to be one front. On his specific messaging, though, it's interesting that he packages himself as this kind of moderate, quiet, likable guy, but some pretty red meat in his packaging, right? His messaging, he's talking about climate change, eliminating rules on carbon taxes. He's talking about cracking down on what he sees as political correctness on campuses. He's talking about sending fighter jets back into Iraq. These are all pretty hardcore red meat kind of conservative issues. So it's not like he's shying away from sending messages that are pretty precisely targeted.
Now, he tried to label the Liberals as out of touch with regular Canadians. The Liberals, though, were quick to come out with their knives, saying that Andrew Scheer is a social conservative. He's far right wing. Who do you think is going to win in the branding wars here?
Partly depends on how careful a job Mr. Scheer does in trying to brand himself. You know, the lessons of Stéphane Dion and Michael Ignatieff linger in the background. The idea that those Liberal leaders fail to get out with their own messaging first and let other people brand them. So I think we can expect some kind of social media and maybe internet advertising campaign for the Conservatives to try to put a frame around Mr. Scheer. As far as labeling him a hardcore SoCon, he's been very careful not to be too far into that social conservative camp. I would say a watershed for him was the convention the Conservatives had in Vancouver last year, where they debated whether or not to change their stance, saying that marriage should be between a man and a woman, essentially rejecting same-sex marriage. He came out on the side of people like Jason Kenney, who said, hey, that battle is over, let's move past it. Marriages between all kinds of people, and so that was a signal to him that he still wants to kind of keep a foot in that camp. He'd like to move out of it too. Do
you think he's Stephen Harper with a smile, as some are saying?
No, I don't. I think that encapsulation of who he is a little bit glib. You know, this is a guy who has his own identity in the party. It's an interesting kind of identity. Stephen Harper was never really identified with the social conservative wing of the party. Andrew Scheer does have an element of that. We've never had a speaker as a party leader before on the Hill, and he has this interesting credential as a guy who really understands the House and is a man of the House of Commons. That really wasn't Stephen Harper's way of coming at things. He was really a party guy and an economic policy guy. So, no, I don't see him that way. I think he's his own man.
Polling shows Trudeau still has a lot of strong support, but a lot of people aren't familiar with Andrew Scheer. Is that his main challenge moving forward?
It is. Name recognition is a huge challenge for him. It was the reason that some Conservatives flirted with Kevin O'Leary as a possible leader. The idea they needed someone against him. I mean, Trudeau is really so well known. His name is a household name in Canada that it's a tough obstacle. 2 years, though, is a fair amount of time. Mr. Scheer's got some time. Election campaigns tend to define people more than leadership races do, so he's got a campaign to come into. And the other point I would say on that is, although no Conservative would ever say this, it really isn't typical in Canada to imagine a leader winning on his first time out, right? You kind of get to know people in your first election and then hope to win another one. He's a very young man, only 38. So the idea that he's not going to say this, Conservatives won't say this, but it's possible they're thinking of a two-election strategy.
Although Justin Trudeau was able to do it in one.
He was, yeah.
All right, excellent. It'll be interesting to see how Scheer and Trudeau go toe-to-toe in the months ahead. Thank you very much. Macleans Ottawa Bureau Chief John Geddes, and I'm Cormac Mac Sweeney in Ottawa for City News.